Let's walk through what's going on the stand right now because it sounds rather intense. The defense has called Robert Costello as a witness. He was a lawyer who at one point had advised Michael Cohen. In the last few weeks, he has been coming out and saying that Michael Cohen is lying about him on the stand. He testified before Congress, before Republicans in Congress. And some of what's going on right now is, for instance, Costello said that Cohen told him 10 to 12 times during their meeting, I swear to God, Bob, I don't have anything on Donald Trump. So he is there to impeach the credibility of Michael Cohen. But what's going on is that Costello is really expressing disdain for Judge Merchan's rulings. Costello shakes his head as if he was exasperated when Judge Merchan sustained an objection from the prosecution about one of the answers. At another time, when the prosecution objected, Merchan told the lawyers to approach the bench, and Costello could be heard saying on the microphone, ridiculous, just saying ridiculous while the attorneys are at sidebar. Then at another time, there was another objection which was sustained. Costello lets out a Jesus. That's my interpretation, but that's how one says such a thing when they're frustrated. Merchan leans forward and says to the witness, Mr. Costello, sorry. And then Beauvais returns, no. And then at one point, the judge actually asks for the trial to take a minute. He tells the jury to leave the room. This is a pretty extreme thing to do. And he tells Costello in a raised voice.
Jake, the judge has just cleared the entire courtroom.
Yeah.
It appears that now this has escalated to a security concern, and the overflow is cut. We're not getting any more information. I mean, the fact that this has escalated to this extent, this is part of why there was disagreement within the Trump world about whether they should call Bob Costello. The only reason he is being called is because the client insisted that he be called. There were people on Trump's team that thought he would be too much of a liability. And
Paula,
the fact that the judge has now reprimanded him for staring him down, this has really taken a turn.
So, that's I was getting to that. He told Costello in a raised voice when he told the jury to leave, Mr. Costello, you're to remain seated. The jury leaves. Then Costello, after another sustained objection, Costello rolls his eyes, lets out an audible sigh, side glances the judge. The judge says, I want to discuss proper decorum in my courtroom. The judge says, you don't give me a side eye and you don't roll your eyes. The judge says, when there's a witness on the stand, if you don't like my ruling, you don't say geez, you don't say strike it. Costello holds a long glare at the judge. Judge Merchan says, are you staring me down? Then the judge says, clear the courtroom. There's yelling by security officers at the press to leave. The video is cut. Court security says nobody can come back in. Paula, you have a JD. You've been covering court cases for quite some time. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, this is unbelievable, and I know Bob Costello quite well. I've talked to him for about a decade. The fact that he would allow this to happen on the stand, it suggests in many ways that he is probably posturing for the defendant. Remember, it's the defendant that overrode his own defense attorneys. They said this is not a good idea. Do not put Costello on the stand. He overrode them because he loved Costello's performance in Congress last week, where he attacked not only Bob Costello, but also this case and the judge. So the fact that Costello would conduct himself in a trial like this, potentially jeopardize a case like this, I am actually pretty surprised, but it validates the concerns that have been expressed by members of Trump's defense team about why they did not want to call Costello, and also reminds us why when the defendant calls the shots and not the defense attorneys, you can have something like this happen.
And Paula, I mean, Bob Costello, he is an attorney, right? I mean, he knows how important it is, more than the average Joe on the street, to show respect and deference to a judge's rulings. I mean, these are just objections that are being sustained. I was there last week or the week before, and Judge Merchan sustains objections from both the prosecution and the defense. I know the defense doesn't think he's fair, but as a general note, what I saw seemed, in keeping with courtroom proceedings. For him to do that, that's knowing hostility. I mean, that is knowing animosity towards a judge's ruling.
Jake, this is unbelievable that he would engage in this kind of conduct, force the entire courtroom to be cleared. I reiterate, there have always been concerns about Costello. Costello is the only defense witness called before the grand jury in this case. His testimony, he said, resonated with the grand jury, but he didn't stave off an indictment. He was not expected to be called until late last week when Trump said he had to be called. This is so over the top, undermining everything the defense has tried to do for their client over the past week or so. It's unclear what impact this is going to have on the case itself, but this is exactly why certain members of the defense team did not want to call him. But again, I've dealt with him for a decade. I am pretty shocked that this is the way that he's behaving on the stand. Look, he has animus towards Michael Cohen, no doubt. He also has some ill will towards the judge. But the fact that he would engage in this kind of behavior in a criminal courtroom in a historic case of this nature is truly shocking.
Yeah, and members of the media and the people in the gallery are being allowed back into the courtroom. Let me get my panel to weigh in here, and I apologize ahead of time, per usual, for when I interrupt you to tell you what's going on inside the courtroom. But first, let me start with Caitlin Polans, who's been covering this now for quite some time. I'm pretty surprised. What about you?
I'm pretty surprised, but Jake, this is maintaining order in the court.
No, I'm surprised that Bob Costello, who is a member of the bar, would say Jesus when a judge makes a ruling he doesn't like, and he's not the defendant. He's a witness.
Yeah, and staring at the judge, sighing, rolling his eyes. That's clearly not the sort of behavior that you would expect out of a witness. And we can't say exactly why he's doing what he's doing, but he is quite an experienced attorney, and he is in this circle of people around Donald Trump who's been on the legal side of things more often than in this sort of position as a witness. He was Steve Bannon's lawyer. He was Rudy Giuliani's lawyer. He has been a lawyer in these cases for quite some time. In this context, he's a legal advisor to Michael Cohen, trying to put that fine point for the defense team that Michael Cohen's a lying liar who lies.
Yeah.
Whether that's going to come across because of this level of disruption remains to be seen and will be for the jury to decide.
Lisa Adamson, what do you think? What do you make of it all?
I mean, I am really shocked. The only time I've ever seen a courtroom cleared is when there's an actual security concern. Somebody has yelled something threatening. The defendant has got up and made movements toward the door. That's when they clear a courtroom. So this was an extreme step, but one that was necessary because it is right. Costello was showing no decorum for the court, a complete disrespect for this judicial process. And you know what? It undermines the defense's case because they need him to be more credible than Michael Cohen. But when assessing the credibility of a witness, which the judge will instruct, demeanor is one of the things that the jury can take into account when assessing the credibility. And think about the demeanor we've just seen. That's
Tim Parlatore. What do you make of this all? Because I have to say, Bob Costello, elderly gentleman, walks in, has a good story to tell about why Michael Cohen either lied then or is lying now, one or the other. Why do this? Speculate for me.
Oh, good.
Inform speculation.
Good, because I don't have a good answer for
you. No, you don't know, but inform speculation.
So, I mean, look, in full disclosure, Bob is a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I've known him for a while.
Did you expect this?
No.
Okay.
No. Bob is the former head of the criminal division in the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney's Office. He's a very experienced criminal lawyer. I know that he has been frustrated generally with the process. I know that when he went before the grand jury, he was very frustrated that...
Frustrated with what?
With the district attorney and the way that they presented the case, where they wouldn't ask him the questions or let him testify about certain things. And he brought a lot of the emails and they refused to submit them to the jury. So maybe this is some of that frustration boiling over. While certainly you don't want to have this kind of behavior in front of the jury, I will tell you that much of what we're seeing right now is after the jury left.
Yeah.
And one thing I was thinking before this is the volume of objections coming from the prosecutor's office. It struck me that it could have the negative impact of the jury of saying, "Oh, this is something they really don't want us to hear. Mm-hmm. There must be some there."
Yeah.
I don't know if Bob maybe. If this increases that or if it neutralizes that.
We're going to
It's
squeeze in a
very
quick
weird.
break. Shanwell, I'm going to come to you first in the next block. I apologize. Everyone stay with me if you're just joining us. The judge has just cleared the courtroom and then reopened it after a rather tense exchange with a defense witness. How will this dramatic day 19 of the Hush Money cover-up case end? CNN's covering this trial gavel to gavel. We'll be right back.